Good evening. Crime in London has fallen. New figures show that nearly 50,000 fewer offences were reported last year than in the previous 12 months. There were fewer burglaries, robberies and mobile phone thefts. Well, the Metropolitan Police says it shows that the force has a winning strategy for the fight against crime. But critics have claimed that the figures are misleading. Many offences, they say, go unreported and have accused Scotland Yard of massaging statistics for certain types of crime. Here's our Home Affairs correspondent, Guy Smith.
These have been the challenges facing the Met: robbery, burglary, violence and even murder. And this has been part of the answer, according to the Met. 3 years of highly visible police operations across London targeting specific problems. And it seems to be working. Total crime is down in the past year by more than 6%. Robberies have fallen by almost a fifth. Burglaries by 8%. Another high-volume crime, motor vehicle theft, by nearly 6%. If we look at gun crime, it's dropped by 17%. Knife crime also has decreased. Youth violence, which was such an issue a few years ago, is down by 4%. And if we look at the worst crime of all, murder, then compared to other capital cities, London is relatively safe. In particular, Ealing. Crime falling here by more than 14%, the biggest drop in the capital.
There's a lot of police around here. Yeah, I see a lot around, so I'm safe here. I feel safe in Ealing.
We do feel safe.
I think we've had more police on patrol about the place.
It's welcome that crime seems to be falling in London, but the pattern does differ across each of the London boroughs. But the real issue for me is how we're actually tackling crime and whether we're actually solving crime in London. And when you look at those figures, only 1 in 6 crimes is actually solved in London.
But the bigger problem is trust in how the police record crime. This officer has accused the Met of routinely fiddling the figures, telling MPs that in one borough 300 burglaries disappeared over a couple of weeks.
So things would clearly be being reported as burglaries. You then rerun the same report. There'd been a human intervention, i.e. a management intervention, and those burglaries had effectively disappeared in a puff of smoke.
Earlier this year, the Met Commissioner admitted he was concerned.
I've accepted from the start that in fact there are more things to do.
And this month, a Parliamentary Select Committee report, titled Caught Red-Handed, criticised the police for being less than honest. Ultimately, inaccurate figures gives an inaccurate picture of where crime is taking place. Guy Smith, BBC London News.
Well, joining me now to discuss the figures is Metropolitan Police Assistant Commissioner Simon Byrne. Mr Byrne, I understand, I think Scotland Yard must have been a happy place to be today with this drop in crime.
Yeah, we're really pleased by what the figures show, because at the end of the day, the amount of people that haven't been victims is effectively the size of a small town. Nearly 50,000 people in London haven't had the experience of having their home burgled, being attacked in the street, and so on and so forth. So that's really good news and important. But equally, every time we come on and talk about crime figures, we qualify it by recognising there's always more to do, because we will make the capital even safer.
And how confident can Londoners be that the fall in crime that you point to, and I don't know how to put this subtly, so I'll just have to say it, is actually the case?
Well, I think that's one of the, if you like, the elephant in the room conversations at the moment. Can you trust the police figures? What I'd encourage people to think about is, if I'm running a business, this is the nearest thing to my bottom line that I can offer the public. So I have to be confident that what's reported is accurate. There's been a lot of debate recently about that whole issue. But from the Met's point of view, we're one of the most regulated police forces in the country. We've had an independent inspection by a body called HMIC, Her Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary. The Mayor's Office have also looked at our crime figures, and we have quite detailed internal
Let me stop
checks
there
and balances
bring our
as well.
viewers up to date, because you say if you're running a business, the information you have to have is accurate. If you're running a business, with all due respect, it'd probably be out of business, because the UK Statistics Authority stripped the police recorded crime figures of its stamp of approval because of questions over accuracy. Your former Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Lord Stevens, said figures have always been fiddled, and it's still ongoing. The MPs have recently said there's strong evidence that the police under-record crime. That's really not good. It's not reliable for you to come on and say crime is going down and for us to say, oh, that's great, sir.
Yeah, and I think you have to accept these are quite damning allegations from quite a broad church of opinion.
Which the Commissioner accepts.
That he does, and as your clips show, that he recognised a few months ago that we need to assure ourselves that all we're doing is robust in terms of the checks and balances that my officers make every day to make sure if you're saying your home is being burgled, we record it accurately.
So if we can't trust these figures that the police give, how can we as Londoners trust the police?
Well, I think there's a few issues really when you look at the whole totality of what we're talking about today. Firstly, recorded crime has fallen dramatically in some instances, so you can't just make sort of nearly 7,000 robberies disappear. You can't make nearly 8,000 burglaries disappear. And if you took burglary as one example, even if you don't trust our figures, most people have to report it to their insurance company to get that next bit, which is getting your property replaced. So I think there are certain types of crime you can be more confident are accurate. There are others based on personal experience, so for example, whether you've been assaulted or not, where there can sometimes be room for error, and also where we know and are frustrated that people don't report enough of it to us.
Assistant Commissioner Simon Burton, this is something we could talk about for a long time yet, but thank you very much for coming on. Thank you. Well, do stay with us tonight as there's lots more to come, including